hear a voice.
I will run.
If I see a human,
I will hide.
We have reason to believe that you are harboring an animal child.
It's me, you little freak.
Sweet Tooth reached the top 1 worldwide, and that includes Brazil. The fans here absolutely loved the show, so I would like to know, what was it like for you guys to receive this affection?
So I have heard that Brazilians are really passionate fans about like almost everything. So, you know, getting to hear all the feedback that you guys are giving us is so amazing and funny to hear.
It is amazing. It is absolutely amazing. I mean, there's 211 million people in Brazil, which is a huge population, and to be number 1 there is amazing. I know there's a lot of people who have been trying to get through to me in my my inbox, in my DMs. I've tried to get back to as many people as possible, but I'm sorry if I can't get back to everybody. But thank you so much, because everybody in Brazil has made us feel so loved and so cherished. And we hope the Netflix overlords grant us another season so we can come out again for you next year.
Nice. And and you guys interact a lot with the Brazilian fans, as Nonso was saying. So have you already learned to speak something in Portuguese?
Beijos.
What was that?
Beijos? Isn't that like, hey, what's up?
Beijos is kisses.
Oh, it's beijos.
Obrigado is thank you, no?
Thank you, yeah.
And
what's up is e aí?
Boa noite is like good night.
Good night, yeah.
Yes, and brigadeiros is your traditional birthday party type chocolate thing, right?
Yeah, girls would love brigadeiro, I'm sure.
Yeah, I've tried one before. They're so good. They're really good.
The last men have made it their mission to eliminate hybrids. But we've made it ours to protect them.
I love the Sweet Tooth comic in the back.
Yeah, I absolutely love the comics and I love the show, so congratulations.
Thank you so much. I love the comics too, I mean, obviously.
Yeah. So both Bear and Amy are really badasses and they live to protect the hybrids, right? So do you think that if they join forces, they could save all those kids by themselves?
I think so.
I think we're able to save the world by ourselves. I mean, and by the way, this is just Stefania also. She's a strong woman and I feel like I'm capable of saving anything with her.
Yeah, and I feel the same way about you, Dania. We got it.
First, I'd like to start with Adeel, because Dr. Singh has one of the most painful journeys in the series. How did you prepare for someone who stays focused despite everything he's going through?
Yeah, I think it was just realizing that he was just somebody who was very ordinary, being pushed into sort of this crazy, extraordinary situation. And I sort of feel like his response is quite human. Yeah, I think it was just that. It was just sort of working out how an ordinary person would respond to very extraordinary circumstances.
General Abbott's motives leaves little room for liking him. So how was it for you to play someone that the audience will surely love to hate?
I take a great deal of comfort from the strength of the script. And then I also look at the ensemble. You know, if we all bring the music and there's room for me to play the piccolo, then I must be on cue with playing my piccolo and follow the script, and the rest will take care of itself.
Some bad people are still out there. And they don't like you because you're different.
I want to know, what was the most challenging parts for this first season for you? Because you have action, you have drama. How was it for you?
So not so many challenges, but there were some really sort of poignant moments that sort of reflected the state of the world and what was going on. As an actor, you were just hoping you were doing those things justice.
For me, the most challenging was working with a puppet half the time, and the technical aspect of shooting at the zoo, because I was on set most of the time, and then also working with Naledi, who plays Pigtail, Wendy on the show. She can only work for a certain amount of hours, so sometimes a lot of my scenes I ended up having to do with just a reader or a double. So that presented itself to be a little bit more challenging than I was even thinking about. But at the same time, it's it's a new skill that I learned. Working with a puppet is not the easiest.
And I had a similar experience too with Christian. Yeah, there was some times where I'd be reading with whoever could, pretending that it was Christian. So that was definitely a challenge. Also, because right before we started filming, New Zealand was in lockdown. So I got very used to this very slow paced life where you're just waking up whenever, you're just cruising, you're making food, and then suddenly going from that to working those intense hours. That was a big challenge to get used to, and suddenly that feeling of exhaustion and pushing through, and that was pretty challenging.
And when production wrapped, the world was already through the pandemic, as you were saying. So for you, what is the importance of shows like Sweet Tooth that has a lot of hope in a moment like this?
I think it's always important to keep hope alive, and to try to let go of things that have happened in the past, and tell yourself, okay, things are not what they used to be. So this is an opportunity to find out what new things I should pay attention to, and what new path can I set out for myself.
Yeah, and that keeping that child in you too. I think the show, you see a world through a 10-year-old's eyes, and I think people forget to keep that child within them, because we all have it, we've all been there, and we're still the same person. We all change, but to keep that child within us and to try and look through that lens.
The importance is to show people that in sort of something that feels very insurmountable and hopeless, that there's a lot of hope in it, and the hope resides in people and their connections with others, I think.
It's certainly a part of us is understanding of us as a species, as organism, and it does find a way out, no matter how grim. There is something in us that will always choose life,
Some stories start at the beginning. Ours begins here.
Well, Sweet Tooth marks your first voice acting, right? So what were the great challenges in this area for you?
Getting my voice kind of ready without it being raspy, and you can hear in the pilot where don't really have it together, and then it gets better and better. Of course, everything I would say on the average is done when I recorded it a week or two apart, So I would work 4 hours on the pilot, and then and then a month later I'd work on the next show for 4 hours, and the equipment would be delivered to my house. So because of COVID, I couldn't go to the studio.
And your son Josh made a lot of great comic book movies, and now it's your turn. So has this genre become a family business now?
Well, I don't know. He, first of all, with this, he didn't know what it was when he answered. He's very busy now shooting an 8-hour Western in Santa Fe, New Mexico. So he just said, congratulations. But what happened is, in the last, quite recently, I got it's not a comic book, it's an animated movie, and I play the bad guy in it, see? So
nice.
Now I can fight Thanos.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Now we got something to talk about,
No one knew which came first. The hybrids or the virus.
And fans of the show, myself included, were impressed to have you as the narrator of Sweet Tooth. So how do you feel about this repercussion? Because honestly, you almost made me cry in the first 5 minutes of the show, you know?
Really?
Yeah, I swear.
Well, to me, you know, this is what we all work for and hope for, and we try and create that feeling in ourselves when we're doing it, and when it actually works. But you know, the problem is nobody ever really tells you. You can do good work, and me, I'll go, yeah, that's good. That sounds well. I won't do that again, or I got to work hard on that. About different aspects of my work. But does anybody ever come up to me and say, that moment when you said this, it made me, and I go, it's great to hear those things, because you go, I'll nurture that. I'll work that a little more,
This is a story about a very special boy. A boy we come to know as Sweet Tooth.
So Sweet Tooth reached the top 1 on Netflix in many countries, including Brazil. Is it true that you heard that no one would buy a series about a dear boy? And if so, how do you feel about this huge success after being rejected before?
I remember way before Jim or anyone was involved, like back in 2012, when I would be at the offices at DC working on stuff. And there'd be TV stuff kind of in the background, and you'd ask, is there any interest in Sweet Tooth? And they'd be like, no one's going to make a show of this kid with antlers. They weren't even trying, it's super gratifying to see someone have faith in it, and then you look what can happen.
And the comics has a pretty dark mood. So I'd like to know, what was it like for you to find a way to bring that world to screen, especially in the context that we're living right now?
A lot of it was an effort to just find a new sort of language for post-apocalyptic storytelling. And at the time, the thing that, I really latched onto with the comic book was the idea of Gus, and just him just being this, unjaded, innocent, kid that had this amazing upbringing, and what that would be like when he went out into the world. So that was the idea at the time. And obviously I had no idea that, 4 years later, the world would go through just a massive event like it did, and sort of need Gus's hopeful, optimistic sort of spirit to get him through it. So.
Yeah, and the success of the show makes us think about the future, right? So if Netflix renew it for the season 2, what can we expect for Sweet Tooth?
Well, we're just focusing on season 1 right now. We literally just finished doing visual effects shots a couple weeks before it aired. And we're just enjoying watching the fans celebrate with us. So we're no season 2 just yet.
I had to ask.
Of course.
If there's anyone out there like me, I need to find them.
That little dude's got hope coming out of every pore.